on the right is that, by God, Biden has no, he's afraid to be on the same stage as Putin. He doesn't, this sort of back and forth, that it's a sign of weakness for him to not do this, a puppet show like Trump did last time. Any of that stuff. So, they held separate ones. And those of you that saw either clips or the full thing, and I missed a good chunk of this, so we're going to do, as much of it as we can stand. It's available for the watching. But when, he did this one basically, at the economic and international level of Russia, which is in a conference room that looks like it's at a mid-level hotel in Geneva. And Biden did his outside in front of a giant garden with huge American flags. It was definitely a statement. It went beyond just like, well, we're not going to do this kind of puppet show stage thing like Putin did with Trump last time. We're going to speak for ourselves. Yes, in Mother Russia, room conference is you. That's right. So it's a fascinating prospect, for like, I honestly, the teeth grinding that must be going on over Newsmax and stuff, and I'm sure we'll see parts of it, videos of it show up later tonight or tomorrow about, oh, what a failure. Oh my God, Biden embarrassed everybody. Oh yeah. I love how Biden made Putin wait for him. Exactly. There's a lot of stagecraft going on here that's very important. And a lot of people talk about the size of Russia's economy. This is a constant refrain about the Russian economy. And I would like to say distinctly that they are all wrong. I have been wrong in the past when I've described it this way. And after looking into it, a lot of this is, super important in terms of how you address the reality that's going on in that country, right? In the circumstance that's happening, right? Hold on, I'm blocking a spam. So, the idea is that, we've heard this before, but Russia has an economy smaller than Texas, smaller than California, smaller than Italy. And this is the constant refrain. And I've mentioned this before, because on the material levels, on the kind of overall how much money is the country kind of worth, that's true, but it's false in terms of the Russian people. Because the vast majority of what you're seeing in terms of wealth in Russia does not belong to the greater populace. Or even, quite frankly, like we have here, several billionaires who integrate their holdings in the United States or any of that. The oligarchical gangster economy that is Russia, and what happens economically to the people of Russia, I believe, and I genuinely feel, are two separate things and need to be addressed as such, because it's inflating the actual concrete life of the Russian people, and I mean that almost literally, to equate the money that Putin and his buddies are running off with and what actually passes through the economy of Russia for real. There's a distinct difference between these two, right? A kleptocracy, right? And this is, I think, an important distinction that needs to be made, because the real economy of Russia, minus all the skimming that happens, in terms of the oil and gas industry, which is their primary industry, which is all run by Putin's buddies, and the money is hidden outside the country as if they're all, avoiding taxes on their own country by parking it in the Caymans. That part of the economy is not the Russian economy, any more than you would check a bank's assets and include funds that are always being embezzled. You cannot take out a loan in a bank or loan money from a bank based on money that should be there but ain't, right? If that makes sense, right? So it's just an important distinction I'd like to make. Now, hopefully audio will be okay in terms of, this stuff. Fingers crossed. we shall see what we shall see.
As well as the quality.
Okay, so, and by the way, this jumps in kind of at the beginning of this thing.
For instance, have you discussed the Ukrainian topic? Have you discussed the situation in Donbass and possible Ukraine accession to NATO? And in the run-up to negotiations, there were a lot of expectations of ambassadors returning to their host countries. Your assistant, Mr. Ushakov, talked on that. Have you decided on that? With regard to return of ambassadors to their workplaces, return of American ambassador to Moscow and our ambassador to Washington.
I love this dude just over here. Just like, I can't tell if he's filming the filming of the filming or if he's selfieing himself and reporting live from Masktown.
We agreed that they would return to their service, to their duties. As for the timeline, tomorrow or the day after, this is pure technicality. We agreed that Russian MFA and State Department will start consultations on the whole range of issues of diplomatic cooperation. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of questions have piled up. I believe that both parties, including the United States, seek to find common ground and find solutions. As for Ukraine, indeed, we touched upon this matter. I wouldn't say that we had lengthy conversation on that, but as far as I understood...
Yeah, we were told that the U.S. and NATO are allied again firmly on any encroachment in Ukraine, and don't even try it.
President Biden, he said that the basis for the Ukrainian settlement should be the Minsk package of measures. As for possible Ukraine accession to NATO, well, we just touched upon this broadly, and there's nothing to discuss here. Itartas news agency. Please give the floor to Itartas. Mr. President, you said that one of the topics was strategic stability. Could you please elaborate on the decisions on this matter? And will Russia and the United States resume or launch negotiations on strategic stability and disarmament, and namely on the New START
I have to say, Putin's looking a little sad-sacky.
treaty? Do you plan to start negotiations on their further extension?
He was grinning. He was grinning a lot more during the exchanges with Trump.
Review of modalities, or maybe a signing of a new treaty in this area? Thank you. The US and Russia hold special responsibility for strategic stability in the world.
Yeah, by the way, that's him inflating his position in the world. We used to have a standing Cold War with Russia. Now we only negotiate with them because, unlike Iran and North Korea, they're not creating more nukes or expanding their nuclear program. It's already there. So we have to deal with them because they have that. And to basically set up an exchange because of the cyber warfare stuff that they're doing. So we're trying to play nice so that they don't, you know, there's a minor level of mutual assured destruction that's going on there. We're nearly at that point. They kind of get into that later.
Judging by the fact that we are largest nuclear powers in terms of the number of warheads, re-entry vehicles, and delivery means, as well as the quality and the scale of modernity of these weapons, we realized this responsibility, and President Biden took a responsible and timely decision to extend the New START treaty by another 5 years till 2024. Indeed, a question arises: what's next? We agreed that we will launch consultations at the interagency level under the auspices of the US State Department and the Russian Foreign Ministry. Colleagues at the working level will decide on the makeup of these delegations and the venue for negotiations, as well as the...
I gotta say, like, do you guys remember him having looks on his face like that during the Trump exchange? Seriously. The live is a bit fuzzy. Oh, the live feed is? Beg your pardon? Could it be the maybe? I don't know. I'm sorry if it is. I don't know what that is. I'll try to make it better each time. Looks like a UHF channel. That's weird. Super pixely. That's weird. Is that everywhere or just YouTube? It's a Putin filter? Probably. I always worry about bringing in the opening up my video to check it during the show, because it always ends up. Oh, I see what you mean. Like the blurry pixely. You're right. I'm doing keyframe intervals. Weird. Okay. Yeah, it's a little washy. That I can't fix live, but at least it's not choppy, I guess. That's our blessing. Huh? I'll try and fix it as we go, if I even can. But, you know, it beats the max headroom thing, I hope.
Schedule of these meetings. Let's give the floor to foreign journalists. CNN, Matthew Chance.
Why'd they cut his question out? That's not me, by the way, doing that audio. They just dropped his audio for some reason. What is exactly your problem? I've been sitting out here for a lot of times. We're both men. We're both wearing khakis, right? We both like to ride a bear with no shirt on. What is your problem? Can you answer that for me? Look.
As for the overall assessment, I believe there's been no hostility. On the contrary, our meeting took place in a constructive spirit. Indeed, we have varied assessments on a number of issues, but both sides expressed their intention to understand each other and to seek common ground. Talks were quite constructive. As for cybersecurity, we agreed that we would begin consultations in this respect. I believe it is extremely important. As for responsibilities and who should take them, let me brief you
that's a
on
lot of throat
matters
clearing.
that are common knowledge, but probably not everybody is aware of that.
It's like, I love when he tries to switch into cowboy.
U.S. sources.
When it really just looks like he's got something in his eye.
I don't want to make a mistake here as to the name of this organization, but the U.S. sources claim that the majority of cyber attacks are made from the U.S. territory. Then a second one is Canada, then two Latin American states, and then the UK. As for Russia, it is not listed in this ranking of countries that see
She said ranking, not wanking, just to be clear.
the significant number of cyber attacks from their territory. That's one thing. Secondly, throughout 2020, we have received 10 requests regarding cyber attacks, on the U.S. infrastructure. As our colleagues put it, these cyber attacks were launched from the Russian territory. And we received 2 such requests this year. And on all these requests, our colleagues received exhaustive answers. On its turn, Russia sent last year 45 such requests to the relevant agencies of the United States. And this year, we sent 35 requests. And no response has been provided so far. That says that we have a lot to work on, and as for the scale of responsibilities and who should take them, it should be decided within negotiations. We agreed that we would start such consultations, and we believe that the cyber security area is extremely important in the world at large, for the United States in particular, as well as for the Russian Federation to the same extent. For instance, we know about cyber attacks against a pipeline organization in the United States, and we know that this company had to pay a ransom of 5 million USD. According to my information, they were returned some part of this money from electronic wallets, but
yeah, they were returned it. It was a refund. That is very sweet. You mean you're aware of the fact that the U.S. Law enforcement agencies, specifically the FBI, got access to the Bitcoin wallet and got the money back, which scared the crap out of the oligarchs, and a lot of them bailed out of Bitcoin and moved into other ones and caused a drop in Bitcoin almost the same day because they were all aware of this attack.
But some parts of this money is still missing. But
some parts. Look at his face. Maybe.
What does?
I mean, I don't know where it might be. I've heard that maybe some of this money exists. Who can really say? I mean, honestly, does money even exist anymore? I can't tell.
And what do Russian authorities have to do this? We face the similar threats when it comes to one of the key Russian regions and its healthcare system.
Yeah,
and we see
totally.
where these cyber attacks are launched from. We see that these attacks are coordinated from the United States territory. I don't think that the United States authorities are interested in such kind of manipulations.
Probably not.
We need to get rid of all kinds of insinuations and innuendo, and we should launch the expert work for the benefit of the United States and the Russian Federation. We have reached an agreement in principle on that, and Russia is ready to do that.
Yeah, we've reached an agreement in principle that if you guys you start to knock it off or rein in the people you do have control in, we won't turn off your oil and gas sector completely for months at a time.
Artie, please give the mic to Artie.
Yeah, give the mic to Audie. How's it going? What's happening, Audie? Good to see you, man. Hope you're fully vaccinated.
Yeah, I believe some
No, you know what? Let's not give it to Audie. You know, he hasn't earned it.
part of the question was not answered.
Look, honestly, I told you before that I wanted access to the pool. I've got a little card that says I get to go in the pool. You say I can't. I say I can. Can't we just agree to disagree? I don't know what the question is still. We hear the answer. I don't know that. I don't know why NBC is cutting the questions of the of CNN.
Well, to be honest, this part of the question was not interpreted, or maybe you decided to ask a second part of your question. But with regards to commitments to Ukraine, we have one single commitment to help and facilitate the implementation of the Minsk agreements. If the Ukrainian side is ready to do that, we are ready to follow this path.
If you're ready to follow the path of doing whatever we say, you know, the Minsk agreement, our self-congratulating diplomacy, where we just go, I agree with myself on this. I agree. I think we should all agree that we can agree that we are right about this. Exactly. Okay, cool. Everybody online? Okay. You have a question? Put a bag on his head. Drag him out of the room.
Path without any doubts. Let me draw your attention to one thing. In November 2020, the Ukrainian delegation presented its ideas on how it intends to implement the Minsk agreements.
Right.
And it's not a confidential document. It stipulates that First of all, proposals on the political integration of Donbas to the Ukrainian legal system should be presented, as well as to the constitution. To this end, constitution should be amended. It is stipulated there.
Right.
That's the first thing. And secondly, borders between the Russian Federation and Ukraine
should be porous and based on our geopolitical decisions. I mean, what could be easier, man? Come on.
The Donbas line, these security situations should be ensured the next day after the election. That's Article 9. So what did Ukraine...
Yeah, after we can... the next time we're able to turn their election upside down, then you can, then we'll decide, we'll agree on the Minsk thing after we've installed our people in the second round.
Propose. As a first step, it proposed to return the Ukrainian armed forces to their permanent stationing areas. That means that Ukrainian armed forces should be deployed in Donbas. That's the first thing. And secondly, they propose to close Ukrainian-Russian border in this area. And third, to hold elections 3 months after these two steps.
And my name is, a lot of people call me John Wayne when they walk like this and to talk like this. Okay, man?
One doesn't need to be a lawyer, and one doesn't need to have a special experience to...
No, I mean, just trust me. Just sign the goddamn thing.
You understand that...
You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't even need a lawyer to look this over. Just sign it. It's fine. You know what I mean? Just think of it as your iTunes terms of service. If Apple Music was killing tens of thousands of people, you know what I mean?
That it hasn't nothing to do with the Minsk agreements. It contradicts fully to the Minsk agreements. So what kind of additional obligations should Russia take here? I believe that the answer is pretty understandable. As for the exercises, we're holding these exercises in our territory, just like the United States does with regard to many drills.
Yeah, we weren't moving troops right up to the border, to get ready. We weren't staging troops. It was an exercise, guys.
But we do not hold our exercises by deploying the military equipment close to the
Yeah, they're just doing a little PT, kids.
US border. Unfortunately, that's what the American partners are doing with regard to our border. So we need to...
Yeah, we're just doing exercises right up to the border of Ukraine. When, it's definitely aggressive moves when NATO or the United States or the Ukrainians, make sure that there are support troops at the border in case we try to come across.
Need to have these concerns, not them, but this is the subject of discussion.
YouTube is screwing up. It's very weird. It seems okay on my end.
And of clarifying positions. With regard to our non-systemic opposition, and a citizen that you have mentioned, first, this person knew full well that he...
How isn't blurry? It just looks like one of those filters that removes wrinkles. No, it's definitely blurry. It's particle issues, because it doesn't look that way on my software, but it does look that way on the window on Restream, and I don't know where the is between the two. There's definitely a in between, so...
He violates...
I don't know what is happening, man. What could be the... We don't know.
Law that exists in Russia, and he had to understand that he is a person that is a repeated offender.
Yeah, he keeps saying he's innocent, and we give him an extra year every time he says, I'm innocent.
Deliberately violated this law. He went abroad to receive medical treatment.
Yeah, which is obviously illegal.
And
when he could be pushed out of a perfectly good hospital window here. Why fly all the way to Berlin to be gassed in a park when we're happy to do it right here while you're hooked up to an IV with liquid nitrogen going into it?
Once he went out of hospital and posted his videos online a requirement
It's very hot in the Ramada Inn, by the way.
appeared, but he ignored the requirement of the law. And
Yeah, look, it's very clear in Russian law. If we try to murder you and you go someplace else and you're not dead, you have to return as quickly as possible. So you don't look. Poison has a freshness date. Okay, look, it will spoil. This is the good stuff.
And he knew full well that he's wanted. Nevertheless, he came back to Russia and he deliberately wanted to be arrested. So he did what he wanted to do. What can we say here?
What else is there, man?
Regard to persons like himself and the systemic opposition at large, unfortunately, the format of the press conference does not allow us to have a detailed conversation of that. But let me say the following.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe that it's pretty simple and it would be clear to everyone. And if you could just have an unbiased coverage of this, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, we are biased. We do come from sort of a pro-democracy angle.
So the United States declared Russia as its enemy and adversary, and the Congress made it back in 2017. The US legislation have provisions that...
Hey, that's why we call them bear hands in Russia, because that's what they're for, killing a bear. You kill a bear with your bare hands, and you kill fox with your feet. Fox with your fox feet.
That the United States should support the order and rule of democratic order in our country and support democratic organizations. And it is all contained in your legislation. So let us ask a question. If Russia is an enemy, then what kind of organizations would be supported by the United States and Russia? I believe these are not organizations that make Russia stronger, but those who deter Russia. And that is the goal of the United States that they made public. So these are organizations and people that help implement the US policy on the Russian track. So what should be our take on this?
Yeah, what do we do, man?
Clearly, we should be cautious about it, but we would be guided and we would react within the Russian law.
Okay, please give Pavel Zarubin the mic and then
Yeah, they're swapping out and you can hear the chairs moving.
go back to RT. Pavel Zarubin, I wanted to follow up on this subject.
Yeah, man, tell them what's up.
I mean, look at it. Americans are continuously keeping up with this rhetoric of political prisoners in Russia. They peddle this theme. Have you even...
It's RT. Gee, some serious straight-up ass-kissing.
brought up the Navalny topic during the talks? And if you did, in what tonality? And the second question.
Yeah, were you sufficiently sarcastic when you're like, yeah, oh yeah, Navalny? Do you say it like that? Or you're like, oh yeah, Navalny, because we need to know this if we're going to topple you?
We are seeing a new stage of Russia-American relations. It started with a rather harsh statement of his in your his description of you.
Well, not in my estimation. Man, look, if dude calls me a killer, you gotta say, it's like, I felt like high-fiving myself, but I couldn't reach. It was very weird.
President Biden has indeed touched on the subject of human rights and the subject
We thought it was
of
hilarious.
people who think,
We think people that think that Navalny is human. I mean, it's just absurd, bro.
they are fully in tune with the subjects, with this topic in Russia. We've discussed this.
Yeah, we discuss it. If you discuss it,
We've discussed harsh statements as well. We've heard them. He called me right afterwards. He explained himself, and I was fully all right with what he said.
It was true. I mean, I was like, bro, if you're gonna call me a killer, at least say, naked bear riding killer, something, give it a little goose. We got a lot of killers in Russia. You're making me sound average.
Offered to meet. I mean, this was his initiative. We've met, and once again, the conversation was quite constructive, and I once again understood that President Biden is an experienced statesman. Our one-on-one conversation took almost 2 hours. It's not every world leader that gets this amount of attention. I mean, his predecessor was asked the same question. He evaded this. This president decided to respond to the question directly.
Oh, look at that. So Trump dodged a question? Huh. I wonder how Newsmax is going to handle that little snippet. I'm kidding. They'll ignore it.
And in this, he is very different from President Trump.
Uh-huh. You mean he doesn't avoid difficult issues?
But look at it this way.
Yeah.
Anything that happens in our countries is something that political leadership is responsible for, and the presidents included. Who stands accused of what? Who's the killer? But look at it this way. Look at the American streets. People are getting killed there, including those who are leading the various political organizations. You can get a bullet in the back of your neck.
What? What political leaders in our country have gotten a bullet in the back of the neck? What? Hold on. Run that by me again?
Various political organizations. You can get a bullet in the back of your neck. A woman.
What? What the fuck are you talking about?
Just ran away from the police and they shot her in the back.
What?
But take Afghanistan.
Please. Take Afghanistan, please. What?
Single strike can kill to the tune of 120 people. All right, assuming this was a mistake, it happens on a war. But shooting from a drone at an unarmed crowd, clearly the civilian crowd. What is this about? How would you call that?
How would you call that? I mean, what are they trying to do? Take my methodology or something? They're cribbing from my notes, man.
And who's responsible for this? And how would you call this person who is the killer now?
Yeah, we don't mean to do that. We have distinct rules against that. You actually tell people who would not otherwise do it to do it. That would be the distinction, I think. That would be the...
Or going back to the human rights record. The Guantanamo prison is still operating.
Yeah. That's our one thing. We've been trying to shut that down, and the Republicans have been pushing back against that for a while. Yeah, we know Guantanamo's that way. Any prison in Russia runs effectively like Guantanamo. Guantanamo is a stain on America because that's not how we want to run our system. I almost feel like he's jealous that it's still open.
Doesn't even start to resemble what is stipulated in the international law or in the
Yeah, not like our prisons, man.
U.S. legislation, and yet it exists.
Oh, you think he's talking about Ashley Babbitt? Ashley Babbitt was shot from the front. He said she was shot in the back. I mean, honestly, God knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Secret CIA prisons across the globe, including those in the European countries, where people were tortured. Well, is this the great human rights record?
Yeah. Yes. Because we push back against those things. We've been ineffective at getting some of our leaders jailed or the courts acting on those things. But as a people, we're against it. Whereas even if the people were against it in Russia, they would never have any recourse about any of this stuff. Ask Alexei Navalny now, not post 9/11, not after the United States and the Patriot Act and all this stuff after the most egregious terrorist attack in the country. Not after that, and not in our recovery from that and our like national trauma making us move beyond our ethics and our principles. But the current principles right now in Russia, what we think is right and wrong versus what you think is right and wrong.
Oh, I doubt that. Would anyone here would agree that this is how you protect the human rights?
Would anyone think that you have any standing to even discuss the debate about how far security goes in that regard when you're jailing Navalny because he went to another country because he was poisoned by you, came back and you arrested him for it?
But this are facts on the ground. And this is the reality of the politics today. And we understand that this is how it's been done. And on the basis of that, we respond.
Yeah, we'll basically just say, you know, we can kill whoever we want because you kill whoever you want. And when, you know, the Trumps of the world say it doesn't really matter, it's really awesome for us.
So when people get funding from abroad to stand for the hidden agenda of those who are paying them, who pays the piper?
Who pays the piper?
RT now, please. RT, a question about the Arctic. You've mentioned
A question about the Arctic. When do you think we'll start to be able to farm there?
the discussion on this track, and the United States have been accusing Russia of militarizing the Arctic. And so do the United States allies. In March, State Secretary Blinken voiced his concern. So what have you discussed in detail? Well, we've discussed this in an extended format with our aides present. And this is an interesting field. I mean, the exploration of the Arctic and in general and
By exploration, we mean poking holes in the ground and sucking oil out of it so that we can get it to the Middle East and Southern Europe as quickly as possible before the bottom drops out of the market and we have nothing else we produce.
Northern Sea Route in particular is of huge interest for many countries, not just us in the United States. So yes, the United States have concerns, but they are completely baseless. I mean, these concerns about the militarization are baseless. We are not doing anything new. We are simply restoring the infrastructure that
We're not doing anything new. We're doing the same thing we always did, just further, okay? You understand? Like I was making a humping motion with my hips, right? The only difference is my pants are down and I'm on you. See what I mean? I'm not changing anything.
that has already been there. All right, we are retooling this, we are retrofitting this, the borderline infrastructure, the military infrastructure, but also the environment conservation and emergency command and search and rescue infrastructure. We are creating.
Yeah, we have to create a great command and rescue thing for all the guys that we're sending out on boats to break ice who are falling into the ocean because our boats are shit.
The capacity to save people at sea. If
Thanks,
that,
Verena.
God forbid, happens, or we're trying to protect the environment.
That's why they're crossing. That's why they want oil exploration in the Arctic, to protect the environment. Yeah.
I've told our colleagues that I see no grounds for concern whatsoever. Quite the opposite. I think there's plenty of ground for cooperation, and we should cooperate in this. After all, Russia and the United States are one of the 8 members of the Arctic Council. And by the way, Russia chairs the Arctic Council this year. Moreover,
So it's our turn to poke holes in the earth. Okay, get it?
As you probably know, there's a strait between Alaska and Chukotka. On one side, you have the United
His name is Gary.
States, another Russia. All this taken together should actually prompt us to work together to redouble the effort. And the use of Northern Sea Route, its use is regulated by the international law. There are 2 major regulations. It's the Law of the Sea of the United Nations, that dates back to 1982, if I'm not mistaken, and the Polar Code, which is comprised of several documents, which was ratified in 2017. So that's the legal
Yeah, I mean, then Trump was involved in that, so obviously we got everything we wanted. I don't know.
framework.
Yeah. Hi, Gary.
So I drew the attention of our counterparts to this and to the fact that we, Russia,
Yeah.
fully stand ready
What more?
to stand by these international regulations. We have never infringed upon any of them.
Yeah, because it was not possible. There was too much ice in the fucking way. But now the ice goes away. It's super easy. It's great.
We stand ready to lend a helping hand to all the countries and companies who wish to explore the possibilities of Northern Sea route. Now the navigation is open for half a year, but in fact it's more than that. And as the planet warms, this navigation will be open for a longer time.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the upside of global warming.
New icebreakers, including the leader icebreaker, are put online, and we have the mightiest icebreaker fleet in
Yes, we know. That's kind of the
the
problem.
world. So
The ice doesn't need any more help breaking free.
this proves the much demand for the use of Northern Sea route. Now, the law of the sea
By us as an attack route.
of the United Nations describes and sets the legal framework in and around of of the international waters, territorial waters of the country, adjacent seas,
By the way, he seems kind of aggravated.
exclusive economic zone, and the freedom of the sea, the internal seas.
Anytime his energy gets up, you can tell that there was some pushback in the meeting about
What
it.
is that? These are the seas that lie within the sovereign territory of the country. Then the territorial sea, 12 miles.
Jesus.
Adjacent sea, 12 more miles.
Boring. Jumping ahead.
Deem them unfit to comply with the Polar Code. And the Polar Code
Oh my
is
God.
to work together to continue and follow through on cybersecurity, on strategic stability.
Here we go.
And I think that it is
Yeah, we're going to work together with Russia on cybersecurity. That's really that's what's been missing here is a good partnership.
during these consultations and in our common effort in the Arctic, we'll be able to spell out the specific details. ABC News, please. Our American partners.
Our American partners. Yeah, yeah. Russia and Disney are like this. What? And they're blocking. I don't know why they're like NBC is. Is that the rule that they just block out the question? It's aggravating. Hold on. I'm going to switch over to something real quick, if I might.